What is going on? Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you're doing well. Now, most of the vintage toy lines from the 80s and 90s that I got really into as a kid and collect now as an adult had years of success, pumping out wave after wave of new toys. Except for one. Today we're talking about Ring Raiders.
Attention all Ring Raiders, Evil Skull Squadron closing fast. Scramble, scramble.
Ring Raiders, intercept Skull Squadron! Battle Blaster, on!
The Battle Blaster sound machines make every dogfight seem real.
Missiles locked!
Collect the greatest fighter planes of all time. 48 hot-looking, highly detailed planes, available in squadrons of 4. Ring Raiders video, blaster and planes from Matchbox.
The command is in your hands.
Now for those of you who don't know, because it does feel to me like a much less well-known line, Ring Raiders were released in 1988 by Matchbox and essentially aimed to capitalise on all the Micro Machines hype at the time, when all different toys were coming out in smaller scales. So Ring Raiders essentially applied that to fighter planes that were fixed to clear plastic rods and then connected to rings in a way where they kind of had some degree of articulation. And like I mentioned, Ring Raiders came out in 1988. And I'm not sure if I was just late to the party or if the line was released later in Australia, but I got right into them in 1990, and it's easy for me to pinpoint that year because my family was living in Canberra at the time. We moved down there for my dad's work. We were only there for 6 months to a year before coming back to Sydney, so I definitely know it was that period where I got stuck right into Ring Raiders. And like almost every other toy line of that era, there was an animated series as well, but for whatever reason, only 5 episodes were made, and it was never picked up by a network, so I really don't think it ever would have aired in Australia, which kind of makes me wonder how I first of all learnt about Ring Raiders without a cartoon to get me hooked, and secondly became invested enough that I pestered my parents to buy them for me at a time in 1990 when there were so many different, much bigger toy lines and cartoons that were competing for a 6-year-old's attention. I can only think it was the commercials that got me. And again, because there wasn't a weekday cartoon or a Saturday morning cartoon that kind of explained the characters and the backstory, I don't really know when I was playing with them if I even knew who was who or what they were all fighting about. But then again, I guess it doesn't really matter because you may recall we had that thing called imagination that took care of the rest. Now this might sound kind of weird, but I remember as a kid getting so invested in Ring Raiders that I was literally dreaming about them and then waking up and remembering the dreams that I had. Now, I still to this day remember one dream. I remember having a dream that I won a jackpot. I'm 6 years old. I had a dream that I won a jackpot on a poker machine, and then my mum or my dad took me with my winnings to a Toys R Us or a World for Kids. Shout out if you remember World for Kids here in Australia. And use the money to buy the whole toy line. Now, I'm not sure what it says about my parents or my childhood that I was dreaming about playing the pokies as a 6-year-old, but in any case, I remember being really bummed out when I woke up and it was just a dream. Now, because the toy line was around for such a short period of time, maybe somewhere between, 6 to 12 months, we're talking one Christmas and then maybe one birthday. So because of that, I really didn't have too many of the toys. I remember having 2 or 3 squadrons of planes. I didn't have any of the play sets, like the Skull Squadron Action Assault Base, which I've got in my collection, which you may have seen if you've seen one of my collection room tour videos. I just had a couple of squadrons of planes, and I had what was called the Battle Blaster. So it was essentially a wrist-mounted sound effects box, so you'd push different buttons to simulate machine gun fire or dropping a missile. They had one for the Ring Raiders and one for the bad guys, the Skull Squadron. I had the Ring Raiders one, and that became the kind of memorable item from that toy line for me. So when I started out as an adult vintage toy collector, the Ring Raiders Battle Blaster has been at the top of the list. I've always kept an eye out for it, whether I'm at a toy show or even just regular eBay checks, Facebook groups. And really, in the years I've been collecting, I've never seen one. I've never seen one in the wild. or I've never seen one on a local Australian eBay listing, whether it's, you know, loose in box, whatever the case may be. But then during the lockdown, the most recent lockdown, so we're probably talking July this happened, I was browsing eBay and I came across a listing for a mint in sealed box Ring Raiders Battle Blaster. And the listing was actually on the eBay store of a pawn shop a bit less than an hour from where I live. Now normally, in normal times, if I see that, I'm making a point of driving directly to that pawn shop, because if someone out there has hocked their mint in sealed box Ring Raiders Battle Blaster, who knows what else, who knows what other vintage relics that pawn shop has. But I couldn't, we were in lockdown, so I made them an offer. It was a best offer listing, made them an offer, they accepted, and now I am the proud owner of a sealed piece of my childhood, the Ring Raiders Battle Blaster, and I couldn't be happier to have picked this up. So, I mean, this box is in great condition. There's no major marks, it's really straight. You know, no fading, no dings, just beautiful condition. Absolutely love the artwork on this thing. You know, that there is so memorable from, you know, the store shelves in 1990. Absolutely love the cross-sell on the back, which shows the different squadrons of planes on both the Ring Raiders side and the Skull Squadron. There you've got both Battle Blasters there, so you've got the Ring Raiders version and the Skull Squadron version. All the different play sets. This is just awesome. I'm so happy to have picked this up. But then the other thing that I've kind of been thinking is, because I'm not much of a mint in sealed box collector, if you see my collection, I tend to collect loose vintage action figures. It's kind of got me thinking. I mean, this box looks really clean to me. This seal looks original, but you know, it's kind of got me thinking, like, I probably should just have confidence that this is the factory seal, that everything is in here as it should be. But, which, you know, obviously if you're talking about a mint on card figure or something behind a bubble, you can see it's there. But because this is a, you know, because it's in box, you can't see what's in here. Part of me, maybe the cynical side of me, is wondering if, you know, do I carefully break that seal and just check it's all in there? Because I didn't pay too much for that. I think I paid maybe $50, give or take. And based on how nostalgic that item is for me, I would have happily paid $50 even if it wasn't sealed in box, even if it was boxed. To be honest, I probably would have paid $50 just, you know, for a loose one without box, even if it wasn't working, just because of the nostalgia the item has for me. Just like all of us collectors, we're driven by nostalgia. So with that said, because I didn't spend too much, because I'm not much of a sealed collector, because I got my doubts as to whether, you know, and look, I'm pretty confident that it's legit, but, you know, maybe someone out there can kind of empathize with me that I just want to double check it's all in there, and then I just want to see it, maybe do an unboxing video. So I'd love to get your thoughts as to what you think I should do with that. Do I just have confidence that the seal is factory, leave it, you know, it survived this long, why open it? Or do I bust it out carefully, of course, and do an unboxing video and enjoy it, you know, out of the box? Would love to get your thoughts, but that's not all. Quick side note here, my dog is out in the living room maybe 5 meters from me, and her snoring is deafening. So I'm really hoping that's not getting picked up on the mic. If when I'm editing it is, I'll throw in this apology, so I'm sorry about that. So this pawn store had another Ring Raiders item that you have to imagine came from the same collection, and again, I couldn't resist making a play at it, and for an even better price, I got this Ring Raiders Wing Commanders plane series. So the cool thing about this item is the Ring Raiders planes were released in wing packs of 4 aircraft. So what that basically meant was you had a Wing Commanders plane, and then you had 3 supporting planes in a similar color scheme, and then there were 5 or 6 wing packs for the Ring Raiders team, and 5 or 6 wing packs for the bad guys, for the Skull Squadron. So for me, the actual planes that are the most iconic from my childhood are the Wing Commanders planes, far more so than the supporting planes that came with them. Now the cool thing about this is just a set of 8 Wing Commanders planes. So each of these planes would have had their own team of 3 supporting planes. We skip all that and we just have the Wing Commanders planes. 4 for the Ring Raiders and 4 for the Skull Squadron. And what makes it even cooler is the ones up the top here are the leaders of the Skull Squadron, Scorch, and the leader of the Ring Raiders, Vector. So these I definitely had as a kid. These really stand out. So to me, this is almost like a greatest hits from the Ring Raiders toy line. If you have one carded set of Ring Raiders planes, to me, this is the one that I'm most stoked with, because you've got all the heavy hitters, and then you've got the mini comic that comes with. Again, really like pretty straight card, like a little bit of a bend there, but you know, no fading. Corners are pretty sharp, beautiful card back. See, these are individual wing packs I'm talking about. So rather than having all the matching supporting aircraft where you don't really know who the pilots are, it's all about the actual wing commander. Here we just have the Wing Commanders planes. So this is awesome. Really happy to pick this up as well. So reading this card back, I'm coming across some aspects of the Ring Raiders backstory that I either didn't know about as a kid, or if I did, I've forgotten. It seems that time travel is kind of a key component of the backstory of Ring Raiders. So Ring Raiders, an international air force made up of the greatest planes and pilots of all time, was formed when the world was threatened by the evil Skull Squadron. So it appears that we've got the greatest pilots of all time in the greatest, most iconic aircraft of all time fighting their battles through time traveling, you know, aspects. But that kind of makes sense. I mean, when you look at the aircraft, you've got some planes here that look heavily inspired by like World War II era aircraft, and then you've got some really kind of futuristic designs, especially for the 80s. So that's really cool to see that. I mean, it's always interesting when you come across things that you had as a kid, but then you know you read some additional detail into it, and it just kind of takes a different spin. That's really cool. So between the Wing Commanders plane series and the Battle Blaster, I've pretty much got the key items from this toy line that are most memorable from my childhood, and I've got them both sealed and in beautiful condition. So I'm really happy about that. The only problem now is display space, because I don't really have the space to do them justice. But that's a problem for another day, so I'm going to leave it there, but I'll be back soon with another video. I'm continuing to stack up the WWF VHS tapes, got my WrestleMania 8 t-shirt on, so I'll be back soon to share those pickups with you. And also next weekend I'm hitting the road, and I'm going to go visit the boys from the YouTube channel Keep On Collecting, so in all likelihood there'll be a video around that. But until then, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Hope to hear from you in the comments, whether it's some advice on whether or not I should bust open that Battle Blaster or just a chat. And as always, cheers.